Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Ashers. This is
Pat O.
Pat. Oh, you didn't die.
No, I did not. Um, yeah, I did the 5K thing and survived it. I guess we'll skip right to that. Yeah. So originally my wife was supposed to run, and she started having foot issues, so she backed out. So then last minute I got thrown in. It was for this Girls on the Run female empowerment running group that my daughter is in after school. So originally it was supposed to be her and my wife, her stepmom. And then yeah, my wife hurt her foot and like didn't think she could do it. But on Thursday she went and got like some kind of steroid shot. So turns out she was able to do it after all, so the three of us did it.
Oh,
I could have backed out at that point, but I felt like that wouldn't have been nearly as entertaining of a story. So I decided to go through with it, and I survived. So yeah.
what
not,
else
not
did you do this weekend?
that, yeah, I did that, and then well, I was gonna start out with talking about Thursday night. Spent Thursday night sitting outside of GameStop with a bunch of unwashed people trying to get the new Zelda game, and that was mildly entertaining. I do those with my son kind of every so often. We did one for I used to do them for the Grand Theft Auto games back in the day. I distinctly remember standing outside of GameStop in the middle of the night for Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5. And when my kid got of age, he kind of wanted to start doing them for the Pokemon games, so we did that. And then this week we did Zelda, and I think this is going to be my last one. I'm kind of done with
Why?
it because fuck those people. I don't know. It's like I don't. I'll tell you exactly why. So we go through this whole big song and dance to get these fucking tickets to go get the Zelda game, and the guy opens up the box, and he's going through the all the stuff that was shipped, and they say, "Hey, we have just FYI, we've got two limited edition Legend of Zelda Pro controllers for the Switch. All right, we only have two." So he goes to the guy at the front of the line, the guy at the register, the first customer he's taking. "Did you want one?" He goes, "How much are they?" And the guy's like, $80, and the dude's like, "Oh, no way, I'm not spending money on that." And someone in the background of the line yells, "Yo, I'll take one." And the clerk goes, "Well, you're gonna have to wait your turn, sir. I'm gonna ask everybody." And everyone goes, kind of groans. And then the dude at the front of the line goes, "You know what? Yeah, I will take one." And he bought one. And then the person right after one, they asked her, and she's like, "Yeah, I guess I'll take one too." And it's like, you motherfuckers, like, you're just. And I saw someone do that too with like the legendary edition of the game, where they were saying, "Okay, who wants the normal edition? Who wants the legendary edition?" And this chick was like, "Well, I don't have legendary edition money. I already have my $60 for blah blah blah." And then the clerk's like, "All right, well, I only have 14, so go down the next one, yes." And she's like, "Oh, yeah, I guess I'll take one." It's like, fucking. That's what I hate about nerd culture, is like that kind of like, the collectorism where you're going to fuck someone else out of something that you don't even really want. But if it's going to be high in demand and someone else is going to want it, well, then I might as well grab it first. And I don't know. I guess I'm used to a little bit more like community in my nerddom, like with role playing games. Like, you kind of have to do it all yourself. It's a group of people at a table, whereas with video games, it's like one person in a basement. So I don't know. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up is that there's a lot of girls at this one, like more like groups of girls. Like usually, like when you go to the Pokemon releases, like the GTA releases were total bro fests, like no doubt. And then at the Pokemon, usually there's like one or two chicks, but they're usually with a boyfriend or something. But there was lots of girls at the Zelda release. So I guess would you consider Zelda like a more feminine friendly franchise? Like,
Well, it is called Legend of Zelda, not Legend of Link. So there's that. But no, actually, I wouldn't. I'd consider Pokemon more of a
that's
feminine based.
exactly that's kind of what I thought too. And the amount of females that I would see at the Pokemon release was like what you would think would be there. And this was like, I would say it was, and this, granted, this was one store that was doing this, is one event at one store. This is by no means a accurate scientific sampling, but it was about 40-60 as far as dudes to chicks, or chicks to dudes go. So I mean, a little less than half, but still, that's a pretty big number. Um, so yeah, that was
I
my
don't, I don't hang out with nerds, so I don't know.
So you've never done a midnight release before?
Oh, of course. Not in recent years at all, but yeah, I have. I don't. I guess I never. I don't. I don't walk into a room and go, "How many dicks are in here, and how many, how many sets of titties?" I just don't think about those things. I don't know. So it's never really dawned on me. Um, I do have this nerd bar that I like to go to. That's right across the street from my house. You went there. I took you there,
Hmm.
right? And so I like to go there, and I look around and kind of seem, not to shame anybody, but I'm usually the hottest person there, and
I love
it's
how
obvious,
you
you know.
you're like, I don't notice gender when I walk in
No,
a room, but I do notice beauty.
I do. Yes. Yeah, that's the difference. Right. If I'm the hottest person in the room right now, who's hotter than me? And how can I make them understand that I'm still better than them?
You're speaking the truth. You're speaking from the heart. I appreciate this.
That's my domineering factor. How can I be the center of attention when I walk into this room or this event or this,
Right.
Um, but yeah, it doesn't. But I've competed with men. Sure have. Sure have. So, it's gender's not a factor.
Right.
Anyway, no, I don't know. I like I said, I don't pay attention to that. I don't like I said, I don't think that Zelda is necessarily Legend of Zelda rather is necessarily a feminine based franchise.
Yeah, I don't know. It just caught me off guard. Just like I said, because it was so much greater than the Pokemon events, which I would think. Just going by the discourse on Twitter when the Pokemon games drop, I mean, like you and I remember the last one came out, like you and Emily talking about like which ones you were getting and stuff, and seeing a lot of feminine discourse online on Twitter about the game. And I didn't see so much of that this time around with Tears of the Kingdom, but then to go to the event and see an increased female presence was I don't know, I won't say shocking, like I didn't drop my fucking cup, but like I was like, oh,
So I
whatever.
mean, what was the incentive for going to the midnight release? I
I have
mean,
no idea. It's just something we do. Like I said,
okay, so there isn't one.
no, I mean, well,
There used
I
to
think
be. So like
there's
Pokemon was my thing. I'm sorry. There's a what?
yeah, there was like a wooden plaque that you get if you got the standard edition and you went to the GameStop release event. You got some kind of wooden plaque. And then we got the special edition thing. So which you can only really get at those events or if you pre-order it. And then I don't know, it just had some extra shit in it. And then I guess if you wanted to really control like the pro controller, you would be able to get that at these things, and then you get to play it before anyone else. But I don't know like how it works with because I know that they let you download them at midnight, so it's like you could sit at home and just download the thing when it
Right.
drops. You know what I mean? And then I know you can even spoof on the Switch so that it doesn't know what time zone it's in or whatever, and you could download it early. Um, so I think it's just more of like a ritual thing. But it's also like playing into my kid. Like this was really important to my son, so it was like okay, we'll heighten the dramaticness of it by going there. You know what I mean? And we'll go out at 10:30 on a school night, which is like a big deal. So for a 12-year-old, not for
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, back when I was going to them, I mean, the only reason why you would go is because of all the extra shit or the shit that you couldn't. You'd get all this stuff for free. Like I said, my thing was Pokemon. So typically, if you went to the midnight releases of the new Pokemon game, you'd get like an exclusive Pokemon that you cannot get otherwise. You fucking cannot get it unless
right.
you hack the game, right? You can't get it. Um, and that would be the incentive for going, or like, and then you get, maybe a fucking gift bag of dumb shit with it. Who knows? But I remember when the last Pokemon games came out, there wasn't anything like that this time.
Yeah, I know when I went to for the Grand Theft Auto ones, like one of them, I was able to get the game and it came in a lockbox, which I actually still have, and I use it as my like what I keep my fucking birth certificate and shit in. And then when I did GTA 5, I got like a little card that had a code on it. And when I used that, I got like the Goodyear blimp and like some special car or something for the game.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think we're kind of done with these. Like the only games coming out. I'm not huge into gaming now anyway because I don't have the time and I got to fight with the other people in the house for the console. So it's like I don't game as much. But Diablo 4 is coming out in June, and then what's it called? Starfield comes out in September. Starfield is the new franchise from the people that do like Skyrim and Fallout, and it's set in outer space. So I'm really, really stoked about that one. So that I could see for my own benefit going there to try to do. But I also like remember when I did GTA 5, I stood outside, I got that fucking game, I went home, I put it in my PlayStation 4, and then sat there while the thing downloaded. And it was like another like 6 hours to download. Like
No,
whatever.
see, I was going to game things before you downloaded games, so I don't know what that's like.
Yeah. Well, no, no, no. It was like a patch. It was
Right.
like, oh, you put the game in the system and then I don't know. It was just like no one was playing it right away. It's like great, now I got a head start on playing this thing first thing in the morning, but whatever. So
Well, and I feel like it's still like that. I put anything into my Switch and automatically it's got to update. It's like, okay, all right, cool, whatever.
yeah.
And that's annoying, but yeah, I was going to game events when you would just put the game in your console and play it. Remember that? Um, yeah, I don't know. I like I said, when I went and got the Pokemon game, it was so anticlimactic. It came out. I was so excited for it to come out. Couldn't wait. And initially, I just ordered it off Amazon, but then Amazon wasn't going to have it to me for like 3 more days after it came out, and I was like, "Oh, fuck that." I canceled my order, walked into GameStop, and they were like, "Oh," I go up to the desk. I'm like, "Okay, Pokemon." And they're like, "Okay." I mean, it was just very there was nothing special. It didn't feel good. It didn't and it should have felt better. And even had I gone out the night before and gotten it there, I mean, that's how it would have been, right? Except now there's a line. I walked in the very next day, there was nobody there. I bought it. And,
Right. Like it's like there's the crescendo like that night, then you go the next day, you can like walk in at like fucking
walk right in. Yeah,
10:30. Yeah.
walked right in, swiped my card, it was mine. I went home with it, I played it, and it ended up being the most disappointing Pokemon game I've ever played to date. So I don't know.
The
Just the
most
whole
recent
thing.
one, the Ruby Sapphire, whatever what was the
Uh,
Scarlet?
Scarlet and Violet? Yeah,
Yeah.
not good. Not good games, I don't know. So, very uneventful. Sad, it's sad. But, whatever, it is what it is. So, what else did
Yeah.
you do, Pato?
That was I mean, and then it was Mother's Day, so I had that shit, and then I had family in town. My son had a fucking play, which was good, I guess. And then it was actually it was a lot like watching a trauma movie. There was set pieces falling over, there was technical difficulties, people were forgetting lines and just improving shit. Kids were tripping all over each other. It was middle school theater at its finest. And it was enjoyable. It was pretty enjoyable, especially when you're high. So that was that I had to do that Friday and Saturday night. I don't know, that was it. I just kind of fucking hung out. Promo time. This week we have Y2K movies. We're discussing 2022's I'm Totally Fine, which is an interesting movie on Hulu about a woman played by Jillian from Workaholics who gets visited by aliens that look like her dead best friend. It's definitely a pandemic film or plandemic film, if you will. Kind of a sci-fi chick flick, but worth checking out. It's less than 90 minutes and you can find it on Hulu. Also, the Thursday night live stream on gaming that I do, Welcome to the Grindhouse, is now available not only on YouTube and Switch, but the audio logs are available to download in podcast form on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, meaning I now have 3 weekly podcasts, which is entirely too much. I'm genuinely risking overexposure here because I'm a slut that says yes to everything. This is like when David Duchovny was on X Files and Red Shoe Diaries at the same time. So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen there. Something has to give because I realized that last week where I'm like, am I really doing this? Am I really doing 3 fucking hours of original content a week? Like, I could, they say like whatever you do the most, like that's what you are. Like if you spend 16 hours a week washing the dishes and 2 hours a week practicing guitar, you don't get to tell people that you're a guitar player. You have to tell people you're a dishwasher, right? It's like at this point, the only thing I can really claim to be is a podcaster because that is what I spend an enormous amount of time every week doing.
I don't know
Like,
whose rule that is, but it's dumb.
well, I think it's the rule of honesty. Whatever you spend the most amount of time doing, that's what you say that you are. So, I mean, granted, like I have a day job and shit for the time being, but I this is what I do now. This is my main creative output. I guess I'm still working on the gaming stuff a little bit, but like this is what I do a lot, and I hope the fuck people are enjoying it because it's taking up a lot of my time. So that's me. I want to ask you, how is Evil Dead Rise?
It was okay, Um, I watched a lot of things this weekend. I watched, and I'll watch more because I've got my surgeries this Thursday, so
Mhm.
I will be
Wednesday or
not
Thursday?
Thursday,
Okay.
the 18th. Send me all of your good vibes, everybody, and your well wishes. I will be sad for a couple of days while I have all of my teeth pulled out and relearning how to use human teeth again. So that'll be great. Um, anyway, also send me money because I could use more money. So, because it's expensive. Anyway, I did a lot of watching. So we had Joe Bob night. We'll start there, right? Had Joe Bob night. Movies were The Babadook and The Mothers. The Babadook is not a good movie. I don't give a shit who you are. I don't
I
care if you
agree.
listen to the show. Yeah, if you're listening to the show and you're like, oh, that bitch Asher, she's got such bad taste in movies. How could she not like The Babadook? Listen, fuck off. That's not a good movie. It is. Listen, because okay, so Red was here. Red had never seen The Babadook. All right, so he's
Mhm.
here, and he's watching it, and he's very interested. The whole movie, he'd never seen it, and I'm like, just wait, dude, just wait. It is a good movie until the end of the movie, and it's like, oh fuck this fucking movie. It's not it ruins it. It's an ending that ruins the movie. So fuck that movie. The rest of it's fine. It's just the end, and I can't tell you what exactly they could have done differently to make me like it, but I just don't. So
Well, you're entitled to your opinion. There you go.
I am. But The Mothers was a fucking fantastic film. And if you have not seen it, I highly recommend that you do. It's Mothers, Muthers. It is about pirate women who go on who go on a rescue mission for the one's sister, and by doing this her sister's been taken by a human trafficking camp, and so they go kind of undercover and go join this human trafficking camp, and then they try to escape, and it's just fucking fantastic. Just watch it. um it's very funky, very fun. I don't need rhyme or reason for a movie like that. It doesn't make a whole bunch of sense, but it's perfect the way it is, so it doesn't need to be that way.
Good.
um then I get on, and I didn't watch anything Saturday because it was my nephew's birthday. But I watched Evil Dead Rise on Sunday. And listen, here's my gripe with you fuckers, okay? It's my gripe with all you people out there, okay? So I posted I'm watching this for Mother's Day, and there are people that are messaging me. There are people that are under the comments, and they're just like, "Oh yeah, it's really bad. There's no Bruce Campbell in it." And I'm like, "Okay." I am a devout Bruce Campbell fan. I'm very aware that he retired the Ash character many moons ago. I knew going into this movie, okay, that there was not going to be any Bruce Campbell in it. I'm very aware of that. And then they just don't like it and can't really tell me what it is about the movie that they didn't like. Look, it wasn't a masterpiece, okay? It was okay. Again, I'll never watch it again. You guys, I think, know what that means by now when I tell you my opinion on a movie, and that's what the opinion is. But it wasn't bad. It was fine. And I don't understand people like insisting on like shitting on your parade before it even starts. I don't know.
People are fucking bunk. I don't know.
I
I
don't
think
get
you're
it.
absolutely right. Why do people? I don't know. Why do people talk shit on the internet? I mean, that's such a. I don't know.
I mean, it's totally fine to be like, oh yeah, I didn't like it, but whatever. But like, I mean, like I said, people were like messaging me and like telling me about like like one guy's like, "Oh, there's no, it's all Hollywood's all remakes anymore," and it's like, no, it's not. Maybe Hollywood is. Clearly, you don't watch indie film. There's tons of original ideas out there. But what is considered an original idea anymore? Fucking Evil Dead is an original. The original Evil Dead is not an original movie. There's tons of stories and fairy tales about people getting possessed throughout fucking human history.
Hmm. You didn't invent
Um,
the Necronomicon. That was something that exists in pop culture, which is something I would love to do an episode on.
the
I would,
actual Necronomicon.
yeah. Well, I know that there's one you can buy off Amazon, and I don't think that that's real. I heard that that's completely entirely a work of fiction. The one about the mythos behind like the mad Arab Abdul whatever that supposedly wrote the Necronomicon and was torn to shreds by invisible beasts in the middle of a market. Um, yeah, just the different mythologies. Like, is it a Lovecraft invention? Was there any mention of it prior to H.P. Lovecraft, or what the deal is? You know, um, I don't know if that would warrant a whole episode or just something that I can Google next time I take a shit. But I've always been curious as to that.
You already know way more about it than I do.
Okay.
So there's that. You're
It
throwing out
could
a lot of things that I don't understand.
back to your what you were talking about. It could just be dudes trying to slide in your DMs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And trying to look cool and like they know stuff. And I'm like, look, my guys, I'm simple. Okay. I have really bad ADHD. Can it keep my attention? Okay. Then that's good enough for me. Like,
Did it?
yeah, I mean, it lost me at some points. But it was pretty quick. It starts up pretty quickly.
Hmm.
Um, so it did. Like I said, I would kind of. I would kind of come in and out. Like I said, I'll never watch it again. Don't get me wrong, I never will.
Yeah.
And then I watched right after that. I watched Renfield, and
How'd you like that?
I didn't. I liked Evil Dead more than Renfield.
Yeah, it's a better
So
movie. Renfield I thought was like a
okay.
solid C plus. Like, I don't even know if I'd want to say B minus because that I think the B part. I don't know. It depends. Like maybe if I was in high school, I would give it a B minus. But now that I'm older, I'd give it a C plus. Like it's a little bit above average. It has a little bit more like style maybe than you'd expect, but overall, it's kind of
Yeah,
you
it was
know.
all right. I mean, all the best parts you saw in the trailer. So
Yeah,
that's it.
honestly, that's one of the I don't normally feel that way about stuff, but that is something where I'm like, the especially the Red Band trailer, which showed like how ridiculously gory it gets at times.
Hmm.
Um, that was it. Nicolas Cage was okay, you
Yeah,
know.
he was Nicolas Cage.
Right.
That was I mean, it was just uneventful. So all these uneventful movies, except for the mothers, the best movie of the whole group is some little know nothing fucking movie from I think like the 70s or the 80s.
Sure.
It's usually the way with me. So don't listen to my opinion about movies. Just watch them and see for yourself, I guess. And that was it, really. I mean, like you, I did the Mother's Day thing. I did lots of family this weekend. Too much family this weekend.
Hmm.
Um, and then I've been like, it's gonna sound weird, but obsessed with this missing child in my area, and I've been following that pretty closely. So
Yeah, fill me in there because I know I texted you a couple days ago and you said that you were in the middle of
enthralled
that.
with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy because I mean, about people being shitholes on the internet. One of my friends, like 2 weeks ago, just lost her daughter. Okay, her daughter died unexpectedly, and it was terrible, and it was all over the local news. Right, it was either the very that night or the very next day. I can't remember. Kind of ran together. A 7-year-old boy in our area goes missing, and the circumstances surrounding it were already strange because there really weren't there wasn't any details. Like, what do you mean this boy goes missing? Well, apparently he was out fishing at a local park with his family and he went missing. So everybody's like, well, what does that mean he went missing? They just weren't paying attention. He was playing in the woods. Did he fall into the water? What does that mean exactly? If he fell into the water and he fell in at the lake there, well, then he's in the lake, right? You can just find him.
Hmm.
And then the story just kind of got weirder and weirder as like time went on, and it just got very strange. And this whole family
Can you give me the
of
Reader's Digest? Because now I'm totally fucking all about this shit.
Well, right. Okay. So nobody released the details. We just knew that in our area there was like a manhunt for this little boy. Not a manhunt, but a search for this little boy. Nobody knew where he
A boy
was, and
hunt,
people
yeah.
a boy hunt, and people wanted the details. They're like, well, where are we looking? Did he run off into the city? I mean, where are we looking for this boy? A couple of days later, it had finally come out that the little boy was there with his father and his siblings, and one of the siblings. Okay, so they were at fishing, not at the lake there at the park, but there's a river that's like right next to it, like runs next to it, and that's where they were fishing. And that the little boy couldn't swim, and he was told repeatedly to stay away from the water. And one of the siblings heard a splash and maybe some crying, and that's it. And the boy wasn't there. Nobody ever said that they saw him fall in. Nobody ever said anything like that. Well, through social media, the very same day that that boy went missing, his mother was in a group looking
Trying
for
to sell all
food.
his shit in Facebook
No,
Marketplace.
no, 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 no. She was trying to find
Right.
people to get her some food. She was hungry. She wanted food. We have these like groups, these like local community groups on Facebook where you can like ask for shit like that. And so people were like, "Oh, that boy's mother is poor." And that's not an issue, right? People are poor, especially when you have kids. Kids do
Hmm.
that to you.
Hmm.
But then people kind of start digging into the mom. Well, the mom doesn't even have custody of this child. Hasn't even seen this child in a long time, and yet she's all over the news. She's asking for donations, all this and that. People are wondering, well, did the mom kidnap him? And then there was like a big rumor that the mom might have not just kidnapped him, but taken him to Mexico to sell him. I mean, it was just,
What? Now
yeah,
that's fucking ridiculous.
shit got off the rails, right? And then people are like, well, how come the dad hasn't been on the news? And then somebody said that they didn't even report this child missing for like 3 hours. And then they finally reported him missing. That's kind
Yeah,
of
but if you're
weird.
looking for the kid in the woods, I mean, that's not. I don't know. I guess if you keep expecting to find them, 3 hours seems like a somewhat reasonable amount of time. Or no,
Well,
am
if you
I
don't know if
completely?
they fell into the water, right? And one of the kids said, well, he might have ran off into the woods. And okay, maybe. But
Yeah.
the dad wasn't going on the local news because the dad doesn't speak English. So,
Oh, they're all Hispanic.
yeah.
Okay.
And so, that was a whole nother fucking caveat to it. So I am coming back home from again my nephew's birthday party on Saturday, and shit is going down in this missing child case, and I'm like, what is happening? And this is where it gets brutal. Um, I'm seeing like vague posts about some video that's circulating around, and I'm like, what video? What's happening? So a woman walking along the river with her two children is on a Facebook Live and comes upon, guess what? A body in the water.
On fucking Facebook Live.
Not kidding. On Facebook Live.
What the fuck?
Now, she calls the police and, it reports what she's seeing. She doesn't know who it is or what it is, really.
Mm.
It's clearly a body. But yeah, and she Facebook live streams it, and people are mad.
Yeah.
People are very mad.
Why is that even like? I don't even know how to. Well, I guess if you know how to do Facebook Live, maybe then it's in your repertoire. But that would not even be my first instinct.
Well, and who knows? She did remove the video. She took it down. And then people are like pissed off because she's got one of those like digital content creator pages. So instantly when you do a Facebook Live and you have one of those pages, there's like a message, there's like a pre-message that pops up. It's just on there and it's like, oh hey, if you like what I make, give me some stars, which is like money. It's like donations, right? So people were angry saying that she was asking for donations, trying to catch clout because she's filming this body of a 7-year-old floating around in the
Oh
Great
my
Sandy River
god.
here in good old Dayton, Ohio. And it's been a nightmare. So I mean, the police came, they pulled the body out. They have not confirmed that it's him. However, they have confirmed that it is a boy between the ages of 6 and 9. This was Saturday, and they still haven't confirmed. We're recording this on a Monday. They
Yeah.
still haven't confirmed it's him yet. But all kinds of shit has been. Oh my gosh! It's like, and now people are like, well, that doesn't make sense where he fell in at, and it makes perfect sense where he fell in at, because it's a river and rivers move, and I just people are being absolute, and I just in the meantime, I brought this up because again, like I said, just the day before my friend lost her child, and I saw some of the fucking comments under that post, and I mean, it's enough to make your fucking blood boil.
Why? What were they saying to your friend?
I'm not gonna say because I don't know if she listens to the show or not.
Uh, okay.
But it's just dumb shit, and it's like people trying to think that they know what they're talking about, think that they know the situation, just judging parents relentlessly over something that's obviously fucking tragic. And that's what people have done to this poor family. I mean, they have been fucking dragged, and their baby is missing. Well, now he's dead, but I mean, he was probably dead initially, and they probably knew that. But still, that doesn't matter when you're
Mhm.
going through something like that. One thing that I learned is that if you ever go through something tragic, stay the fuck off of social media because those people are awful.
Yeah.
They just don't care. But anyway, so I've been all wrapped up in that and what's going on and this, that, and the other. But yeah, if you come up across a dead body, don't film it, put it on the internet. Just don't do that.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I guess it maybe if that's more her personality. I don't. Yeah, it's like it reminds me of like the basic premise of every found footage movie, which is that somehow while all this shit is happening, the person is still holding the camera,
Yeah.
and that's where every found footage movie, if you look at it logically, tends to fall apart because why the fuck would they hold on to the camera the whole time? But
But
I
we
guess
can't catch good footage of Bigfoot.
this just goes to prove that maybe people they do. That's what they do. Is they pull out their camera and then they experience it all through the camera. Maybe it's a way to insulate them from the real life, right? Because they're not. It's that's not really a body in the river right there. That's I'm
Right.
looking at a video on my cell phone of a body in the river. It's not real. Or
Yeah.
maybe it's because they're freaking out and they want to immediately connect with the rest of the world to be like, look at what I'm seeing because they think that something might happen to them because they're in this really chaotic, random moment that they weren't expecting. Um,
Well, and that's what, some people were bitching because she kept referring to the body as it, and
oh,
people were mad
how
about
could you
that.
even? People gonna get mad about fucking just yeah.
It's like, oh no, that's a whole and it's like, listen, guys, it is, but finding the body, especially the body of a child, is fucking traumatizing.
Oh my god, yeah.
Your brain is going to separate that. It's going to see that body as an object because it's trying to protect itself.
Hmm.
That's I don't know. I don't know why she did it. Like you said, Pat, I think maybe seeing it through her phone was kind of easier for her to take in. I don't know if she was live streaming right before it happened. I can't
Sure.
I haven't seen the whole video. I don't know. But whatever the reason be, now people are coming for that girl and thinks that she should go to jail and are pissed off at her. And like now it's kind of confusing actually because some people are like, well, yeah, she can go to jail for it. It's abuse of a corpse. And when you look up the laws for
Like, get
abuse
the
of a
fuck out.
corpse,
Who the fuck are these
hold on,
people?
stop. It might
I'm sorry.
be. It
Oh,
might actually be considered abuse of a corpse because you are doing something involving a corpse that can go against the sensibilities of the family. That could be considered upsetting to the family or upsetting to even the community. That is what the law says about abuse of a corpse. So it's like it opens up a whole new. There's so many people that film people dying all the time. Like, are they gonna or dead bodies or whatever? People do that shit. So is that illegal now? I don't understand.
if the DA brings this woman up on charges, I'll sit on a fucking traffic cone. If she would have left the video up, then I could see them maybe
Right.
making that case together, but she took it down.
She did. She took
She
it
she
down.
responded in the moment and she did something kind of goofy, but fucking hey, look, when cooler heads prevailed and she took it down. There you go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. They should leave her the fuck alone. I think that she's already what she's been through was hard enough.
I'll be completely honest, and I've been having my own issues with social media these past couple of weeks, and if I didn't have this fucking show, I would not be on anything right now. And honestly, the amount of attention that you get on social media versus the amount of attention that I get on social media, I sometimes wonder if it even matters. You know what I mean? You are the lighthouse for on Wednesdays we talk weird, not fucking me. So I do not think the world needs pedo on social media, and if that's the case, I would gladly delete every fucking profile I have on every place, with the exception of Twitter. I honestly love Twitter. I'll keep my Twitter. Everything else though, it's like you're just I don't like, I don't really get into it with strangers, right? And I know that you don't have that luxury. You have random people messaging you about movies and arguing with you about just about everything. And then you talk about stuff like this where, you know, um, just the social media component of the story. It's like infuriating, you
I've
know.
gotten better about just straight up not responding to people or whatever. I mean, there was this guy recently sent me a bunch of UFO stuff, and that's cool and all, but like he sent me probably hours and hours and hours of documents and YouTube videos and shows, and I'm not gonna fucking go through all that. I'm sorry, I don't have the time. Like, who does? You know,
Right.
I don't know what the fuck someone is thinking and then followed up when I did respond to his message. Followed up with, "Did you get a chance to look through the materials?" No, I didn't. I have a life. What the fuck? Yes, this all of this stuff is interesting to me. Of course it is. It's what I do for a living. But like at the same time, like I've gotten better at just leaving people on red and and just kind of blocking it out. I've stayed off of social media a lot lately. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you know that I don't hardly ever post anymore over there. Um, and it sucks because it feels like I'm being unsupportive to the people that I love and the community and things like that. And because I am lately, I haven't been able to really share other people's stuff or pump other people's shit or anything like that. And it's just because I hate it right now. Every time I get on any of them, there's always something horrible happening. There's another fucking mass shooting or something's going on in the world of politics or there's missing 7-year-old boys and their bodies are, you can watch the video of their bodies floating in the river. Like, I don't know if I can see that shit every single day of my life.
Yeah.
I am on a path to healing myself. When you're bombarded with negativity all the time, I mean it drains you. And I'm working on it personally. I'm just blocking people, I'm muting words left and right and topics. And it'll get better, but it takes a minute to get to that point. So anyway, that's my actually the 7-year-old boy case. That is my news also for the week. I don't really have anything to talk about.
Oh, dude, I got tons. Well, I got three.
Okay, good.
I got three. First thing is this is from singular14.com. Open experiment to manifest UFO mothership planned for Mother's Day, reports Emily and Tobias Wayland of the Singular 14 website. An experiment to manifest a UFO mothership over Phoenix, Arizona is planned for this Sunday, May 14th. The idea for the experiment came from a poster on Reddit and the UFOs subreddit on the social media site Reddit, who asked that people simply focus their thoughts and attention on a UFO mothership appearing over a specific location at a set day and time. It didn't happen.
It didn't happen. Yeah.
It didn't happen. We could say that now. As when I put down this news story in my notes for today's show, wasn't sure if it was going to happen or not. Actually, I lied. I was fairly sure it wasn't going to happen. And now that Mother's Day has come and gone, we can definitively say that as far as I know, it didn't happen. But I was not there. So, which begs the question. I don't know why people bother planning things like this with a rigid hierarchy of rules and dates and times when stuff is supposed to happen. It's like if God forbid the Gamma sex cult ever delves into the apocalyptic, I'm not going to be setting a date and time for that shit to happen, right? Because all you're doing is setting yourself up for failure, because the odds are overwhelmingly not in your favor that the world's going to end when you say it is.
Yeah, it never happens.
Right. No, it hasn't happened yet. Knock on wood. all those
Unfortunately.
all those apocalyptic cults have been wrong thus far. But yeah, I guess these people really thought they were going to make something happen on Mother's Day. I don't know.
I mean, and what's fucked up is that they will continue, like those kind of people. Let me tell you about those kind of people. I'm in a mood today. I'm telling you about all kinds of people. But let me tell you something else about those kinds of people. They will just continue as if the things that they believe in are real and accurate. And it's like, clearly we have taken your thought experiment here and we have tested it against science and we have proved that you believing that you can do this, that you can manifest something. These are the kind of people they get on these Facebook groups and say that I manifested this UFO last night. They say that they've done it individually. I guarantee you.
Uh-huh.
I fucking guarantee you that they claim that they do this shit all the time. And it's like, okay, you got the whole fucking world involved in this, or tried to anyway, and it didn't happen. You just proved that you were a liar.
Have you ever heard of cloud bursting?
No.
Well, you would have if you ever sat down and watched The Men Who Stare at Goats. I hope you watched that movie during your recovery. I should send you. Do you have a Blu-ray player at your house?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to send you a copy of Men Who Stare at Goats for you to watch.
I don't need it's free everywhere. Let me tell
I
you.
know you don't feel obligated to watch it. If it came in the mail, you'd feel obligated to watch it.
I have a confession.
What?
I watched like the first 20 minutes of it and then I turned it off, and I haven't picked it back up again. I will. I'll get through it.
We'll have to. That'll be. I don't know. We should do that for the Patreon. Where like I give you Vicodin so that your fucking ADD slows down a little bit.
Vicodin will make it worse.
Well, does it really? Does it speed you up?
No, just fall asleep. I can't take Vicodin. Actually, it makes my throat close up.
No, we don't want that. Yeah, cloud bursting is something that people that believe in all that shit claim that they can do sometimes, where if they focus on a cloud in the sky, it'll dissipate, which is just sitting there waiting for a cloud to dissipate. And then when it finally does, you say you did it. You know?
Listen, if I sit and I watch paint dry, it will dry.
Right.
These fucking people.
Yeah. Moving on, I have. Well, are you done with that one, or did you want?
Yeah, I'm done with that one.
Here's another new. Now this is an exercise in I don't know what the fuck. This is just internet bullshittery. So WGN News, which is one of the networks here in Chicago, but it's also nationwide. WGN Channel 9 ran a story this week saying that Chicago is among the top cities in the U.S. for paranormal activity. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
If you're a fan of the supernatural, then Chicago is your place to be, according to a recent survey. Per Law and Love, the city ranked third in the United States when it comes to paranormal activity. The company looked at 14 different metrics when ranking the 200 biggest cities in America when it came to their instances of the supernatural. They were put into 4 categories: sightings, haunted locations, lifestyle, and community. In the survey, Chicago was second in the number of paranormal conventions and vampire friendliness, third in the number of paranormal sightings, and 8th in the number of haunted sites. According to the system, Chicago had a score of 44, putting it behind Los Angeles in first place, New York in second place, San Diego and New Orleans rounded out the top 5. So immediately, being somebody from Chicago, when I see that Chicago is ranked number 3 behind Los Angeles and New York, I realize, well, that's where we're always ranked. We're the 3rd largest city in the United States. So this is obviously being this whatever is based on population size or something, right? And then I was like, well, wait a minute. Who ranked us number 3? And I went back, and mind you, this was an article that went out on Twitter, on the website, WGN News website, went all over the place, right? Chicago is one of the top cities for U.S. paranormal activity, right? And then I look at who ranked us number 3, and it's per Law and Love. Law and Love is the website that ranked us number 3. So I go to this website, and you know what this website is? It's a fucking lawn care website that sells lawn care products.
Okay.
That has some random fucking clickbait article about 2023's best cities for paranormal activity. And yes, Chicago is number 3 behind LA and New York. So I was like, does this mean any, like, who is this? These aren't like, this isn't a reputable website. This isn't like, I don't know.
Are there sources on that article from where that information comes from?
It's based on their data, which is like, they ranked him based on paranormal sightings, haunted locations, lifestyle, and community.
What's that mean, lifestyle?
Exactly. So they gave arbitrary number rankings to these 4 categories and then tallied it and then, like, came up with the score.
Yeah. It's funny because if you go and you Google that, top 10 haunted cities or top 10 most paranormal cities is what I Googled, in the US, there's tons of these lists, and they're all different every time.
Right, and because they all use different metrics,
Yeah.
and they all you know what I mean? And it's just like, this is like clickbait at its this is I wonder if this is, like, even AI journalism, like, this is a fucking artificial intelligence threw this shit together.
Actually, that would make a lot of sense.
But it's so funny because, like, you have WGN, which is, 4th largest television network in the United States behind ABC, CBS, and NBC, and then you have WGN, and, it's the TV station that plays the Cubs games all over across the country, and they're reporting this as if it's actually news, and they're not even looking to see that their source that they're citing is a lawn care website, um, which is bizarre in and of itself too. Like, who, why is this even on here?
I don't know. I've got
Since
that WGN is independently based out of Chicago.
you what?
I, so I Google because I've never heard of WGN, so I Googled it, and it says that it's independently based out of Chicago.
Right, but there was like, it was also the 4th network because there's a reason that, like, okay, anywhere you go in the United States, you'll find Cubs fans. Like, do you know any Cubs fans in Ohio or whatever? Like,
Yeah,
eh,
but they're from Chicago.
well, the other reason why is that every city plays the baseball games of whatever their local team is, right? Except for the Cubs. The Cubs is the only baseball team that you used to be able to watch across the country because everyone across the country got WGN and WGN ran the Cubs games. So that's why you'll get Cubs games in Colorado or Cubs fans in Colorado or Kansas or fucking New Orleans or wherever, is because it's the local hometown team and the Cubs team were like the 2 games that you could always make sure that you'd find on like normal TV before cable. So there, WGN is like nationally syndicated or something.
I
So,
don't
but
think that's correct, but okay.
well, let me
because
fucking look it up
because you would
then.
watch the Cub game for us, you would watch the Cub games on WDTN, and which is not the same thing. But that's okay. That's okay. All right. That's all right. That's all right. It doesn't matter. But that's interesting. It just shows the weird tunnel vision that you may have in America, and depending on where you're at, because even though I'm sure that never mind, never mind, it's okay.
What?
I was just curious because I'd never heard of WGN, and I looked it up, and it says it's independently Chicago. So I don't know. And I'm a Midwestern. You would think that at minimum it should reach other Midwestern people.
I think it looks like it stopped in 2014. I'm trying to like research this real quick on the fly because this is what I always heard growing up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why it's interesting because I don't doubt that you've always been told that.
After more than 35 years as a staple Tribune Broadcasting's cable superstation, WGN 9 p.m. news. So WGN America. I don't know. Look it up. I mean, I think it's. I think there's a more complicated answer here than either yes or no. But my point is that I was very disappointed to see that WGN ran a story making such a bold claim when their only source of intelligence was the Lawn Love website, which is a website that has to do with lawn care and landscaping and absolutely nothing to do with paranormal activity. But it's a weird, and it's weird that Lawn Love
It's a
is,
weird rabbit hole in general.
yeah, like if you go to like, because if you look at the other stories on Lawn Love's like news section, they're all by the same writer. And it's like 2023's best cities for tackling home improvement, 2023's best cities for local flowers, 2023's worst cities for grass allergies this summer. And then it's like,
Okay,
wait,
hold on a second. Let me know if this works. Hold on.
what are you doing?
I'm calling Lawn Love.
Thanks for calling Lawn Love. To receive a quote for your home, please press 1. If you're an existing customer and need assistance, press 2.
Ask if we could report paranormal activity.
Press 3.
I didn't hear the options. I'm person 3.
Thanks for calling into Lawn Love Support. We know that your time is valuable, but we would appreciate if you would stay on the line after the call ends to answer.
I'm going to be on hold for 10 million hours.
We appreciate your feedback.
Do we got time for this?
I mean, it's our show. I guess we can do whatever we want.
I'm very curious about this article. Where is there? I'm so fucking serious right now. Can you hear it?
Yes, I can hear everything.
Good.
This is working perfectly.
Good. See how long they take to answer.
That's a jaunty tune.
What's the article titled?
2023's. Hold on, I got to pull it back up again.
Okay.
2023's best cities for paranormal activity.
All of our agents are currently assisting other customers. If you'd like to schedule a callback, please press 1. To continue holding, please stay on the line.
Should I have him
Have him call back 77359 weird.
I won't get it then. That just goes straight to a voicemail. How long can this possibly take?
Jaunty little tune.
They're probably not even open.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's like 7:30 on a fucking.
Yeah, it's 6:30 here. So unless they're
assisting other customers, if you'd like to schedule a callback, please press 1. To continue
see if they have a
please stay on the line. Thank you.
address or something.
Well, no, okay, so they do have their sources cited here. But hold on, let me turn this down for a minute. So their sources say,
oh my God. Scroll to the bottom of it where it says honorable mentions.
I don't see that.
So we're underneath where it says sources, it says honorable mentions.
Let me look here. Oh, okay.
From Michigan dogmen to the Wendigos in Minnesota to the Galawakis in Connecticut, the U.S. is full of legendary creatures and cryptids. Discover more interesting paranormal hubs below. Look at the Ohio one. Second to last entry. Ohio is home to the Loveland Frogman, an elusive 4-foot-tall humanoid frog. This creature is celebrated at the annual Frogman Festival.
It does have the Frogman Festival on there.
And that's the link to the Frogman Festival website.
And I was there.
We were there. We certainly were. Not.
And then right underneath that says, does it look like Bigfoot trampled all over your yard? Hire a local lawn love pro.
This is fucking crazy.
Hold on. Oh, I thought they answered. But it does have their sources listed, but like one of the sources says, let me see here. It's the BFRO cards chat, Data World, Find a Grave, ghostsofamerica.com, North American Wood Ape Conservancy.
I'm going to look up this writer on Twitter and see if she has a
other lawn love studies. What's that mean though?
Very interesting. So check this out. We'll post this in the show notes or something.
It's a very well, I mean, that's a fun detour, but it ultimately led nowhere. Much like most investigations that you do, honestly. So it was a real world simulation. I'm gonna call those people back. Don't you worry, guys. I will call them back. And if I find anything out, I'll record the conversation. I'll let you know.
Amen. So then, yeah, the last thing I wanted to bring up was I wanted to give my shout out to Small Town Monster Fest, Saturday, June 3rd, 2023. Small Town Monsters will be hosting a full day event at the Doubletree by Hilton by downtown Canton, Ohio. This year's event will include an epic Small Town Monsters film premiere, amazing vendors, speakers, special guests, including authors, researchers, podcasters, and filmmakers. Don't miss the inaugural year. And you can go to smalltownmonsters.com/ STM Monster Fest. Who's going to be there? Friend of the show, Aaron Dees, Lyle Blackburn and his amazing hot sauce, Jeremiah Byron, who I need to do something clever with when I see him, because I've been busting this dude's balls online for like 2 fucking years. So, like, do I handcuff myself in front of him? Do I handcuff myself to him? Like, what do I do? I got to think of something.
You got to come up with something. Those are the only people you're going to showcase.
I don't know. I don't know the rest of these people. I don't know. You can talk about them.
Jesus Christ.
Lyle Blackburn is hot sauce. Aaron D's been on this show and the other show and all over the place. And then Jeremiah Byron, who, I don't know, we're internet buddies, I guess. Do you know any of these other people?
Yeah, I do. I don't have to
Lauren
listen to
Coleman,
me,
that used to be Kenzie's old boss, right? He used
Oh
to
my God.
own that place that she worked
We're going
at.
to get canceled because you said that.
Why?
You don't know who you host a show with somebody who is a cryptozoologist.
He's the guy that owns the Paranormality Museum where she used to work, right?
No, he doesn't own the Paranormality Museum.
Isn't that, or he? Where does he? What business did she used to work at that he was the boss?
Oh my God!
Am I wrong? Tell me I'm wrong.
Yes and no. Lauren Coleman owns the International Cryptozoology Museum.
Okay.
In Maine.
Right.
But that's not what he's known for.
Okay, he's known for other things, but he owns that place, and she used to go there for work.
She used to work there. Yeah.
Right. Okay, there you go. That's it. I wasn't trying to start shit. That was my honest appraisal of that situation.
I'm gonna send you.
I know he did other stuff. I mean,
I'm gonna send you stuff. I'm gonna send you some books. That's all. That's it. You like books? It's all right. But anyway, yes, there's going to be a lot of people there that are all very, very known within the cryptozoology community. And most importantly, the highlight of the event is going to be myself and Pato. So you don't want to miss it.
Right. And then Lyle Blackburn, hot sauce entrepreneur, will be there with his hot sauce.
And get your Lyle Blackburn hot sauce. Actually, that's a treat. Listen, guys, we don't get Lyle Blackburn a lot in this area. He lives in Texas. He's coming to Ohio. A lot of people that are going to be there. We don't get these people a lot. Lauren Coleman, he hardly ever does events anymore. Like if you want to meet the guy without going all the way out to Maine, like you better get there. So great event. It's coming. But let's get into Pato's specialties here. Pat, this is a topic that you really wanted to cover this.
Yeah, and it was a lot of work. So this is I just got to say this week's episode was probably the most work that I've put in a podcast episode for any of my multiple podcasts, and
really
this year.
Wow.
At least this was a good month's worth of time I spent on this one, and still barely scratched the surface. So let me ask you, were you familiar with Waco, Texas? We're going to be talking about Ruby Ridge, Waco, the Oklahoma City bombings. That kind of those events are all the argument that I'm going to make is that they're all closely tied together, which was something I was not really aware of. But are you familiar with any of that stuff? Because this stuff was not on my radar. It happened when I was like ages 11 through 14, which meant that you were ages 1 through 4. So I can't imagine that you really have a whole lot of background with this stuff.
So I whatever those things that you said that are connected, I had no clue. That's brand new breaking news to me.
Okay.
Even after kind of researching this, this is what I knew about Waco before. One time when I was probably about 13 or 14, I came out to the living room and my mom was watching something on TV. I said, "What are you watching?" She was like, "Oh, I'm watching this thing on the Waco siege." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then I went back to my room.
That was probably exactly what happened to me, like in real life, where like I came out of the bedroom to get a Dr. Pepper and my mom was watching the Waco siege. Yeah. And I was like, "What are you doing?" And she was like, "Watching the Waco siege." And I was like, "All right." Went back in.
Like, I feel like I've tried to dig in because I've always heard of it, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like I've tried to dig into it multiple times, and it's just like these movies that I try to watch, right? It just hasn't caught my attention. And even researching it, man, I've had to put it down and pick it back up. There's so many names and people and storylines and feuds and wars and disagreements and all gunfights and religious fights and doomsday events that never happen. And I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that happens, and my brain is just like, I can't. The lore is deep with this one.
Yeah, and there's this is one of those things where we could probably do a 6-part, you know, series on this to cover all the different angles. And that's definitely not what I prepared this week's episode for. This is, like I said, my focus this week was kind of on, like I said, the connection between Ruby Ridge, Waco, Oklahoma City, the connection to uh, white supremacist extremist organizations, the Turner Diaries, and the January 6 riots. So that's kind of that's like the through line that I am focusing on.
I
But
feel very unprepared now.
oh, I mean, well, we could just whatever. Uh, don't worry about it.
I mean, I felt unprepared before, but I feel extra unprepared now. No, it was different because I tried to like sit and like think about it, right? I like cults, right? I like cult stories.
Uh,
And this is a cult. And, but I'm like, what is it about this that makes me uninterested compared to like Jim Jones, right? The People's Temple. And I really don't know. I really don't know. A lot of this while I was researching it, because I try to be on the show, I try to be very direct and to the point because I know that I would get bored listening to it if I'm not, right? Even though we have tangents, those tangents, they're fun, right? But you got to have a good starting point. So, like, some details I don't bother with when I'm presenting the information, and that's just me and how I do things. Like with this whole fucking story, I'm glad I'm glad you've done a lot on it, Pato, because I don't even know where to fucking start. I really have no idea where like the starting point is of the story. I don't know what matters and I don't know what doesn't. There's just so much to it that I think you're right. It's going to be hard not to do a 6-part series on it, but we're not going to do that. So,
right. Well, like I said, it depends on what aspect of it you want to focus on,
well, you have
especially
to
when
know
you
what
get
it
in.
is from the get go, and if you don't know what it is, you got to start there.
Right. So what I planned on doing, if I may have the conch shell, was starting 6 months prior to the siege at Waco, and talking about Ruby Ridge. So Ruby Ridge was the site of an 11-day siege in 1992 in Boundary County, Idaho. I almost did it again.
God damn it.
It began on August 21st when deputies of the United States Marshal Service came to arrest Randy Weaver under a bench warrant after his failure to appear on federal firearms charges. During a surveillance operation, Weaver's dog was shot by one of the officers, leading his daughter to fire at the team. His daughter was then shot and killed, causing an exchange of fire in which Kevin Harris shot and killed another U.S. deputy. Weaver, Harris, and members of Weaver's family immediately refused to surrender. In the subsequent siege, Weaver's wife, Vicky, was killed by an FBI sniper while she was holding her baby daughter. All of the casualties occurred in the first 2 days of the operation. The siege and the standoff were ultimately resolved by civilian negotiators. Harris surrendered and he was arrested on August 30th. Weaver and his 3 daughters surrendered the next day. Randy Weaver and Kevin Harris were arraigned on a variety of federal criminal charges, including first-degree murder for the death of the U.S. Marshal. Harris was acquitted of all the charges, and Weaver was acquitted of all of the charges except for the original bail condition violation for the firearms charges that he incurred when he missed original court date. So the whole thing that sent the U.S. Marshals to his door was that he had missed a court date on a federal weapons charge. I think he tried to sell 2 sawed-off shotguns to like a narc or something, right? And this led to them trying to serve a warrant. Shots were fired. They shot his dog. His daughter shot one of the marshals. Then his wife was killed. Went back and forth. But when everything was said and done, the Weaver and Harris families both filed civil suits against the federal government in response to the firefight and siege. The Weavers won a combined out-of-court settlement in August of 1995 of $3.1 million. And after numerous appeals, Harris was awarded $380,000 in a settlement in September of 2000. So the feds show up on his doorstep for legit reasons, but because of the way it was handled, firefight ensued, innocent people were killed, and these guys ended up getting money from the government, okay? But who were the Weavers, and why were they at Ruby Ridge? Well, Randy Weaver was a former Iowa factory worker and a U.S. Army Green Beret.
Iowa or Idaho?
Iowa factory worker
Okay.
and U.S. Army Green Beret. He moved with his wife and 4 children to northern Idaho during the 1980s so that they could homeschool his children and escape what he and his wife Vicky saw as a corrupt world. In 1978, Vicky, the religious leader of the family, began to have recurrent dreams of living on a mountaintop and believed that the apocalypse was imminent. After the birth of their son, the Weavers began selling their belongings and visited the Amish to learn how to live without electricity. On top of that, Weaver and his family also frequented Aryan Nation meetings. They had ties to the white supremacist separatist groups, which is what landed them on the radar of the FBI in the first place. They would have feuds with their neighbors, like land disputes, and that ultimately led to the neighbors ratting to the FBI about how crazy they were. They used to do shit like write letters to the president, which is never a good idea. Like, you can't do that. I don't care what you think you have to say. The wrong way to go about it is to write a letter to the president. And for a little over 5 years, they were under investigation. There were FBI visits, interviews. These people that fancied themselves private citizens just trying to live their life in the middle of nowhere were being constantly harassed by the government. Imagine how ironic that would be. Eventually, the ATF had got someone to snitch on them for selling sawed-off shotguns, and that's what led to the search warrant that got them sieged, I guess you would say. So that's just some background on that. So that was 6 months prior to Waco, was that the separatists living out in the mountains were under siege by the U.S. Marshals, FBI, ATF for 11 days. There was casualties on both sides, and eventually they would be found, I guess, relatively innocent and given a whole bunch of money. So that was where we were at in 1993. And I guess I would say 1992. 6 months later, Waco would happen, okay? And there's definitely similarities between the two. So when we talk about Waco, we talk about the siege by the U.S. government and Texas law enforcement officials of a compound belonging to the religious cult known as the Branch Davidians. The siege lasted from February 28th to April 19th in 1993. The Branch Davidians, led by David Koresh, were headquartered at Mount Carmel Center Ranch in the community of Axtell, Texas, 13 miles northeast of Waco. Suspecting that the group was stockpiling illegal weapons, the ATF obtained a search warrant for the compound and arrest warrants for Koresh and several of the group's members. And unfortunately, that day, any advantage of surprise was lost when a local TV reporter who had been tipped off about the raid asked for directions to the compound from a U.S. Postal Service mail carrier who also just so happened to be David Koresh's brother-in-law. The group's members were fully armed and prepared. An intense gunfight erupted, resulting in the deaths of 4 ATF agents and 6 Branch Davidians. Upon the ATF's entering of the property and failure to execute the search warrant, a siege was initiated by the FBI, during which negotiations between the parties attempted to reach a compromise. After 51 days, and on April 19th, 1993, the FBI launched a tear gas attack and attempted to force the Branch Davidians out of the compound building. Shortly thereafter, the Mount Carmel Center became engulfed in flames. The fire and the reaction to the final attack within the group resulted in the deaths of 76 Branch Davidians, including 25 children, 2 pregnant women, and David Koresh. In total, the 51-day siege resulted in the deaths of 4 federal agents and 82 Branch Davidians, 28 of whom were children. So after that, there were lawsuits, of course. there's a lot of stuff here, and this is something that could be like a two episode, just going to the legal back and forth. And really, what kind of provoked me to want to do this episode was that Showtime just ran a 5 or 6 part series about the trial afterwards. And Michael Shannon plays a FBI negotiator that was there. Giovanni Ribisi plays the defense attorney for the Branch Davidians. Gary Cole, the boss from Office Space, plays a CIA agent that gives Giovanni Ribisi's character like inside info on how the government tried to cover up the debacle of the siege at Waco. But here's like the important stuff that you need to know about all the legal shit. And there's much more here, but just keep these things in mind. Okay. Number one, on August 3rd, 1993, a federal grand jury returned a 10-count indictment against the 12 surviving Branch Davidians. Okay. So there's 12 surviving, 10-count indictment, right? After a jury trial lasting nearly 2 months, the jury acquitted 4 of the Branch Davidians on all charges. Additionally, the jury acquitted all of the Branch Davidians on the murder-related charges, but convicted 5 of them on lesser charges, including aiding and abetting the voluntary manslaughter of federal agents. Okay? No civil suit has ever been successfully tried against the U.S. government by the surviving families of the Branch Davidians. And as of July 2007, all Branch Davidians have been released from prison. So, after this big siege and these people fought with the U.S. government, in the end, the survivors were either fully acquitted or charged with like lesser gun charges, right? Convicted of like lesser gun charges. And that is because the evidence was overwhelming that the government acted incorrectly in their storming of the Branch Davidian compound. Okay. They initiated the attack. They were the aggressor. They acted improperly. There was no civil suit. Okay. But that's why all the murder charges against the Davidians were dropped, because a jury found that they were acting in self-defense. All right. And I'm skipping over a lot of there, but those are the facts. Okay. A lot of the people questioned how the FBI and ATF conducted themselves during the siege. They claimed that there was no intention for a standoff or for this to end up peacefully. The FBI had cameras there to record the raid, something they don't normally do. They had the press there. And they also had over 40 Happy Meals there for all the kids. So they were hoping that this could potentially be, they felt that they looked bad after Ruby Ridge, right? They had these hillbillies in a cabin kill a decent amount of their agents. It went violent. And there was an 11-day standoff. They didn't want that to happen again. So the intention was to go in hot with the Branch Davidians in Waco and have it be a PR win, right? They go in, they liberate the compound, they rescue all these children, they have Happy Meals for all of them, they got the cameras there, right? They anticipated coming in with an overwhelming show of force, overpowering the people, and being victorious. And that's the exact fucking opposite of what happened. All right. There was a 51-day standoff that led to a bunch of dead fucking Texans. So who were the Branch Davidians, right? Well, the day before the raid happened, February 27th, 1993, the Waco Tribune-Herald began publishing The Sinful Messiah, a series of articles reporting the allegations that David Koresh, had physically abused children in the compound and had committed statutory rape by taking multiple underage brides. Koresh was also said to have advocated polygamy for himself and declared himself married to several female residents of the small community. The paper claimed that Koresh had announced that he was entitled to at least 140 wives, and that he was entitled to claim any women in the group as his, that he had fathered at least a dozen children, and that some of these mothers became brides as young as 12 or 13 years old. In addition to the allegations of sexual abuse and misconduct, Koresh and his followers were suspected of stockpiling illegal weapons. In May of 1992, the the chief deputy of the McLennan Sheriff's Department called the Bureau of the ATF to notify them that his office had been contacted by a local United Post Office representative concerned about a report by a local driver. The UPS driver said that a package had broken upon delivery to the Branch Davidian residence, revealing at least a half dozen grenades. He also noted that the compound had been receiving packages from arms dealers for months. However, it's important to note that, firearm charges aside, the allegations of child abuse largely stem from detractors and ex-members. And that's the problem with burning the majority of the Branch Davidians alive, is that there's not a whole lot of people left to interview. Dr. Bruce Perry, though, the chief psychiatric doctor at the Texas Children's Hospital, who led the team that cared for the 21 children that did survive the siege, wrote after a 2-month investigation that the children released from the ranch do not appear to have been the victims of sexual abuse. But there are claims by ex-members, and Koresh definitely had the sister wives things going on. But the evidence of child abuse is not overwhelming. It's not what the warrant was about. It's in the narrative. And that's first and foremost what people discuss when they discuss the thieves. But factually, it's not actually a part of it. It didn't motivate it. And frankly, there's no proof of it after. It's not saying it didn't happen. It's just saying that was never what the warrant was about. There were never any charges filed, and people claim there was no evidence afterwards as well. Once again, these are not great guys, but some would argue they're not necessarily deserving of their fate either. One of those people that would argue about that is Timothy McVeigh. So before we get to that, is there anything you want to talk about or weigh in on?
I mean, are you going to talk about the fact that they I don't even remember who and who. They had somebody's corpse for a long time at the compound, and they were trying to resurrect. They were having a competition as to who could resurrect the corpse.
That was
the group broke off into 2 different groups. And
yes, but that was not. That was the other group that tried that dug up the body. So that was how. So the reason that David Koresh and one of the other guys had attempted murder charges against them, because several years earlier, when that group, originally there was a group at the Mount Carmel compound, right? And it was run by this woman. I don't remember her name. I don't have it right here, but she was the matriarch. Okay, David Koresh came in. They started banging. There was a schism. Her and her son kept the Mount Carmel facility. David Koresh and his people went somewhere else. Right. That woman died. Mm-hmm. Her son dug up the body to try to raise it. David Koresh and his people broke in to try to get evidence that he did that, because they were trying to get him arrested for corpse decks. Actually, the same shit you were talking about on the fucking with the dead kid in the river. In the middle of breaking in there to try to get evidence, they were arrested, and they were in fucking fatigues with M16s and shit. So that led to them having weapons charges on them, and that kind of put them on the cops' radar. They weren't the wackos that dug up the dead body, though. It was the I mean, they were wackos, don't get me wrong. But that was the original woman that led that group. That was her son trying to bring her back. And I don't know if that was ever Koresh's intention. My understanding of the materials that I reviewed was that he was going in there to try to get evidence that they had done that. Not that I'm fucking defending David Koresh.
Yeah, he was, but it's also because he was claiming to be Jesus or something.
Right. Well, his name's not really David Koresh. It's something else.
Not,
he
changed
it to David.
It's something stupid. And I don't blame him for changing it. But, just for the climate of the people, I mean, these are fucking, I believe that, yes, he was probably statutory raping all kinds of kids. The kids said that. The kids that they pulled out from Waco said, yes, he was sexually assaulting us. You're right. That doesn't have anything really to do with the siege, but I don't know, man. Is it really any loss that all these people aren't around anymore?
Well, I mean,
they're not really productive members of society. They were really problematic. I mean, the whole reason why they had the whole reason why the FBI went in there anyway. It's not just because somebody was like, "Hey, I think they have guns in there." Like it was report after report after report after report of people saying, "Hey, these people are like charting in dangerous weapons constantly." It
Well,
wasn't just like one guy.
28 children are dead. I mean, what those children could have grown up to be is not a question that you and I can answer.
Well, sure.
And the FBI was trying to liberate those children. That's why they brought them all Happy Meals, and they wanted video of the children getting their Happy Meals on camera because that's the FBI. They're this great children-loving liberating force, right? And that's not what happened. And maybe it's because the people on the inside were too stubborn. Their parents were whatever. I'm not saying these people weren't separatists. They were. But I mean, I don't think that there really isn't too much debate about the fact that this was handled terribly. And yeah, I mean, I agree. Like some of those, I'm sure some of them deserve to fucking burn in hell for what they did.
Well, right. I'm just
Their
saying,
parents, at least, not the kids.
right. And I agree with that. Um, I'm just saying it's not like there wasn't a justifiable reason for the ATF to investigate these people to begin with. Just because the surviving members now are free and clear and whatever doesn't mean that initially there wasn't a reason why this didn't all go down. The ATF didn't just go, "Hey, I'm going to pick on on this commune."
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not what happened. Did they handle it incorrectly? Well, yeah, obviously. That's why well, there's still debate about that. Some people say yes, some people say no. Doesn't matter. We don't know who started shooting first, and that's the problem.
Yeah, and the reason is because the feds lost the evidence as to prove who would shot first.
Right.
Um,
Conveniently.
yeah, the front door to the place was missing, and even during the standoff, the Davidians had said, in their recorded conversations with the negotiator, that all you guys have to do when this is all said and done is look at the door, and you're going to see who shot first.
Right.
The once again borrowing a kind of a move from Ruby Ridge, they killed their dogs. These groups tend to keep dogs around because they're, I don't know, the same reason we all keep dogs around, right? And the first thing they'll do is kill the dogs, which is done for the protection of the officers, but also can instigate, it escalates tensions when you're coming to serve a search warrant and you shoot the people's dogs, you know? I mean, I understand it's a necessity to some degree, but I mean, I'm sure there's lots of animal lovers out there that would say, yeah, if you fucking touch my dog, you're going to die next. So, yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot of debate. I'm sure you could find people that said that the ATF did everything right in this situation. I'm sure you could find those people. Doesn't mean they're right, you know. So no, they fucked this one up. And were these innocent people in the way that, I know they were fucking scumbags, but the kids were innocent enough, and this was mishandled, and all of this was enough to provoke a reaction from white separatists. And that was kind of the through line that I wanted to connect here, was that Timothy McVeigh, let me get down to where the fuck my notes are. You got me all over the place, girl. Is there anything else you wanted to say about Waco?
Let me think here. No. I was just the one thing that I was just kind of pointing out about the situation is that there were no winners in this, and there weren't any clear losers either. I mean, you're kind of your teams that you get to choose from is the government or the cold, and neither of those groups. I don't want neither of them in my kitchen. So that's my official statement. But go ahead, continue. I want to hear this connection because this is. I didn't know we were going here. This is where my knowledge starts and stops.
Yeah, so Timothy McVeigh cited the Waco incident as the primary motivation for the Oklahoma City bombing. His April 19th, 1995 truck bomb that attacked and destroyed the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building, a U.S. government office complex in downtown Oklahoma City, and destroyed and damaged numerous other buildings in the vicinity. That attack claimed 168 lives, including 19 children under the age of 6, and left over 600 injured in the deadliest act of terrorism on U.S. soil before the September 11th attacks. As of 2023, it remains the deadliest act of domestic terrorism in U.S. history. Within days of the bombing, McVeigh and Terry Nichols, that was his accomplice, were both taken into custody for their roles in the bombing. Investigators determined that the two were both sympathizers of an anti-government militia movement and that their motive was to avenge the government's handling of the Waco and Ruby Ridge incidents. McVeigh testified that he chose the date of April 19th because it was the second anniversary of the deadly fire at Waco. In March 1993, McVeigh drove from Arizona to Waco to observe the federal standoff. Timothy McVeigh was at Waco. Along with other protesters, he was photographed by the FBI, and McVeigh himself was briefly interviewed by a television reporter. A courtroom reporter also claims to have later seen McVeigh outside the courthouse at Waco selling anti-government bumper stickers. Opening statements in McVeigh's trial began April 24th, 1997. The United States was represented by a team of prosecutors led by Joseph Harlitzer. I should have deleted that part because it makes no difference to anybody. In his opening statement, Harlitzer outlined McVeigh's motivations and the evidence against him. McVeigh, he said, had developed a hatred of the U.S. government during his time in the Army, ironically enough, and after reading the Turner Diaries. Okay, so now we're at the part, the other part where I come into this, because this was brought up in the documentary that I was watching on Waco. They were talking about the Turner Diaries and how it's this fucking Bible for these white supremacist groups. And I have read this before.
What is it?
Okay, so when I'll get to that. Let me just say this. So when I read it, I want to say like a roommate had it on his computer, and it was like a comic book version, which made it seem very like not threatening and almost like a joke because it's so ridiculously racist. And the Turner Diaries, so it's something the Turner Diaries has been described as being explicitly racist and anti-Semitic by the New York Times, and has been labeled the Bible of the racist right by the FBI. The book was greatly influential in shaping white nationalism and the later development of the white genocide conspiracy theory. In the 1978 novel, The Turner Diaries, an underground revolutionary group of self-proclaimed patriots known as the Organization attacks the U.S. Capitol. A car bombing of FBI headquarters kills hundreds, and on the day of the rope, members of the organization publicly hang members of Congress, journalism, and others they deem traitors. The goal, of course, is to overthrow a federal government they believe is engaged in a vast elite conspiracy. So the Department of Homeland Security has been trying to tell us that white supremacist extremism is the greatest terrorist threat to the United States, that they represent an enormous danger to our democracy and everyday people. People think that these groups, the Aryan Nation, Proud Boys, that they're only a threat to non-white people. And I think that one of the things that this whole thing kind of brought to light, for me at least, was that they're really not. Like, I don't think I ever got that, right? Like, when you hear about all these, like, you hear, and this is something that we hear all the time. Whenever there's a shooting at a grocery store, there was one just not too long ago, and it's a mass shooting, and it's some crazy white guy, right, that went into a predominantly non-white area and shot up a church or shot up a grocery store. And you hear that this is like he was a white extremist or something, and you're just like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, and now I think this kind of like framed it for me finally of like how it makes sense. Like, and this is something that the documentary that I was watching on Waco kind of illustrated, right? Was that there used to be all of these crazy militia, neo-Nazi, white supremacist groups all over the country, right? And they were just kind of doing their own thing and living in their little compound in the woods and doing their malicious stuff and whatever. But after Ruby Ridge, after Waco, they felt that the government was coming for them, because these are both examples of separatist groups trying to just live their best life off in the middle of nowhere, right? And you're not really allowed to do that. Or if you do that, you kind of arouse suspicion, all right? But you also have people that are goofballs that are stockpiling weapons too,
Well,
right?
and yeah, I don't think it. Well, like you were talking about the Ruby Ridge thing. I mean, that guy was writing letters to the president. I mean, these aren't
Right.
people just living their life, you know.
Yeah, well, but they aren't. See,
What was in those letters? I mean, were they threatening? I mean,
no,
you can't do
actually, it
that, you
was.
know.
So what happened was, so in the Ruby Ridge situation, that guy had gotten into a land dispute with his neighbor, and he won. Right? They were arguing about property lines, right? And his neighbor was pissed off at him, so his neighbor went to the feds and say, yeah, this guy, he's like stockpiling guns, and he talks about killing the Pope and shit, right? Because they all think the Catholics are fucking just, I don't know, it's goofy. We'll get into that, but like, so this guy snitched to the feds on the Ruby Ridge people, the Weavers, and in an attempt to clear their name, they wrote a fucking letter to President Reagan and said, we're not dangerous, we're not trying to kill you, we're just trying to live out here, and we want to homeschool our children, right? And have guns, which is our Second Amendment right. So, like, of course, that just rang the alarm bell even louder. You know
Well,
what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
you don't do that. But here's the thing, dude. Like, crazy people are all over the place. Like, you've never had a crazy next door neighbor where you're like, how is she even lucid enough to pay her rent? Right? Like, crazy. We exist in a society there's crazy people about that say
Oh, we
crazy
could do a
shit.
whole entire episode about the crazy fucking guy that I talked to today. Let me tell you.
You know, like, or you go talk about the people that work in the grocery stores or
Yeah.
fucking pet stores or whatever, and the crazy anyone that's worked in retail. Like, yeah, there's a lot of nutso people walking around out there, and just kind of unregulated. And yeah, these people were goofy. These people wanted to raise their 4 children in the middle of the woods. They wanted to homeschool them. They wanted to live without electricity. They wanted to do all this stuff that maybe should be their right. Okay, we could sit here and laugh at them and clown on them, and that's fine, right? But at the end of the day, that is their right. Okay. Unfortunately, there's this weird overlap between separatists, people that don't want to be a part of society, and white supremacists. And I don't know why those two need to be inherent, right? But in these examples, they are. These are groups that, yes, wanted to live off the grid, but also, like, hung out with Aryan Nation groups for some reason. Okay. And after Ruby Ridge, after they were taken down, right? And after Waco was taken down, you had these groups that thought they were next. Everybody thought that they were next. And what Timothy McVeigh did was attempt to strike back. All right. June 2nd, 1997, McVeigh was found guilty on 11 counts of murder and conspiracy. But McVeigh believed that the bomb attack had a positive impact on government policy. In evidence, he cited the peaceful resolution at the Montana Freeman standoff in 1996, which is, there was another one of these that could have gone bad a couple years later, but it ended up not going bad. And McVeigh thinks that that's because of him. He also, the government had a $3 million settlement with Randy Weaver and his surviving children of the Ruby Ridge fiasco, as we discussed. On April 2000, statements by Bill Clinton regretting his decision to storm the Branch Davidian compound. McVeigh said, once you bloody the bully's nose and he knows he's going to get punched again, he's not coming back around. So, Oklahoma City, people think that there's a bigger conspiracy about whether or not McVeigh and Nichols acted alone in their plot. Some people think that they were agents of this kind of underground network of white supremacists, and that they were the ones that did Oklahoma, to kind of say, hey, leave our fucking compounds alone. Someone wants to live in the woods of Nebraska on their own, you leave them the fuck alone, or else we're going to start driving truck bombs into your fucking facilities. So I don't know. The last thing I wanted to close on was Neil Brennan, co-creator of the Chappelle Show, has a great bit about the NRA versus one single drone operator, and how easily the United States military could squash any of these extremist groups. The militia can plan and train all they want. At the end of the day, they're up against the greatest military mankind has ever known. which is why it's not going to be a straight on fight, which is why you're going to have Oklahoma City bombings, Capitol riots, or mass shootings be done in the name of white supremacy. I never understood it when you hear things like the Department of Homeland Security says white supremacist extremism is the greatest threat to the United States, but now I do. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So, careful as Nazis.
Okay. so how was that? Okay. All right. So how is that connected to the January 6th?
Well, because so that's going back to the Turner Diaries. That's an event that happens in the Turner Diaries. It's called the Day of the Noose, right? Or no, Day of the Rope. And that was where members of their organization publicly hang members of Congress. And I don't think that necessarily means that was 100% taken out of the Turner Diaries playbook, but there are people that do treat that book as kind of a manifesto, as a battle plan of how these groups are going to overthrow the United States government. Because going back to Neil Brennan's joke about the NRA, the reason the NRA maintains its numbers, the reason the NRA has its strength, is the idea that a well-armed militia needs to be able to stand up against a military force, right?
Sure.
That's why we want to hold on to the ARs, because if we all just had like field rifles and revolvers, what good would we be against the military if they ever tried to come door to door and enslave us or whatever they think is going to fucking happen? Neil Brennan's joke is that you'd be fucked no matter what, because look at the United States military. We have drones. One drone operator could take out the entirety of the NRA. Right. But the reality of the situation is that it wouldn't be a fight like that. It wouldn't be two groups lined up on a battlefield. These groups are going to act like a fucking terrorist organization, and they're going to have mass shootings, and they're going to do bombing attacks, and they're going to do stuff like this. That is how they're going to fight, and that is hard to defend against, right? And the reason that I thought this was all interesting is because, like, being a white dude, whenever I heard about the threats, because it's something that you just hear a lot, like the number one threat to domestic fucking security is these white extremist groups. And I'm thinking, well, I'm a fucking white guy. What am I worried about, right? Like, I don't want to see them do their shit. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to see anybody hurt, but I should be relatively safe. I'm not a fucking target. And then you realize, like, no, but they're trying to overthrow the government, which means they're going to randomly attack fucking public buildings and stuff, right?
Right.
They're going to do these mass shootings in grocery stores that they deem are black or whatever. They're going to, blow up daycares because federal agents or whatever. Like, it's fucked up. So.
I like that. The conclusion. That's fucked up. It's true. It's true. It is very fucked up. I don't know. The problem with things like this, and the reason why it doesn't work, takes me back to what I'm saying about the Waco people to begin with, is that, okay, so you'll have these groups of extremists that will use that as kind of their argument, right? Well, look at the people of Waco. They weren't bothering anybody. They were just living their life. Except the man was up in there raping and impregnating children.
Right. Well, I think that when people bring that up, they bring up the aggressiveness at which
No, hold on. Now, I agree with that. There's a difference between what legally took place and what ethically took place.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because, yes, listen, you should be allowed to go live off the grid, and you can't. You can't do that. It's almost impossible for you to live off the grid in the United States of America, and that's bullshit. It's illegal to collect rainwater in a lot of places in America, and that's bullshit, right? You should be allowed to do those things. Picking certain plants. Did you know that, one of the fucking, you're not allowed to, if you find a bird feather, like, you're legally not allowed to keep it? Did you know that?
Why is that?
I don't know. I have no idea. It's really dumb, but you're not allowed. Because most of them come from protected species. But it's not like it harms the species by keeping the bird feather.
Going back to the rainwater thing real quick, I looked that up. And you're right. There are some places where harvesting rainwater is illegal. There's even more where it's illegal, but you can only hold on to a certain amount,
Yeah.
which is just such a strange thing to fucking regulate in the first place.
Yeah, it's weird.
Why do you even care? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's just, I mean, those are just small potatoes, right? Those are just the small things. But yeah, it is. I mean, you almost cannot live off the grid. And not to mention taxes. And that's what it's really about for the government, right? They want you to fucking pay taxes. That's what it is. So at the end of the day, they're going to make your life harder and make it almost impossible to go and do something like that. Just kind of live your own life without any, because they want your tax money. You're going to live on this land. Well, then you're going to pay taxes some way, somehow you're going to. Um, it is shitty, but you're also not really talking about people that were just living their own life and not affecting other people. I am all for doing what you want as long as you don't hurt others. It's the hurting others part that comes into play. So, like, when the examples that are being used are like the Waco wackos, that's just not a good example. We need better examples than that. But does that mean that I want the U.S. Government to go in and conduct a raid that kills a bunch of very innocent people? Absolutely not. I don't want that to happen. I don't agree with that either. So I don't know. It's a weird thing. Like I said, that's the issue with the argument. But I
Well, I
don't
don't
know.
think I'm definitely not claiming that the white supremacist groups are right. Like,
No, 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 no. I'm not saying that you are, but I'm saying that those are the arguments that they use. Like these are the examples that they use to kind of fuel their arguments, and it's weird.
right? No, there's a lot of flawed thinking by that side. I tend to disagree. I tend to disagree.
Clearly.
I tend to disagree with them in general about things. Uh,
Yeah.
you know what? I guess I just, once again, I never thought it affected me. I guess I didn't know Timothy. I didn't. I guess I never really knew what the deal was with the Oklahoma City bombing, and that it was seen as a response by militia groups to the U.S. government for what happened at Ruby Ridge and Waco. And that's the narrative. That's the more factually, historically correct version of what happened, according
Right.
to me. And you don't believe me? Fine. You want to do your own research? Go ahead. But this is what I'm saying is that Oklahoma City, the largest domestic terrorist attack on U.S. soil, was a response to the government's handling of Ruby Ridge and Waco, which were both situations where less than honorable people, okay, people with issues, be they mental, sexual, religious, whatever, their private residences were stormed by the United States government, and sieges that were later admitted and in hindsight to have been like botched raids, right? We didn't handle that right. We fucked that up. And because we fucked that up, we poked a bear, and that led to, you know, Oklahoma City, which was a fucking
Yeah.
disaster, which was a tragedy, you know.
Yeah. And then
And
these things continue to be used as examples and fed into these other more modern day examples that we see.
yeah.
So
So I don't know. I mean, I guess we haven't. Do these groups not exist anymore? Is there a reason why we're not rating them? Like, I don't know for sure. Like, I mean, I know what the Proud Boys are, kind of. Um, I'll say this: I used to do a podcast before this one, if you can believe that.
you
The man that
podcast?
does three podcasts a week now used to do one back in the day too. And I had this, I had to interview somebody. We needed content for the week, and I interviewed a buddy of mine that I knew was a Freemason that was into ceremonial magic that used to play bass in Chicago punk bands the same time I did. So me and this guy got together, and we're talking and we're drinking, and I basically brought my iPad out to a bar, and me and him sat there for 2 hours and drank and talked. And you can find this interview on YouTube. Maybe I'll repost it. Maybe I won't. But it's still up there. And this guy was like, just talking about being a Freemason, and I do this and I do that, and what we think about the universe. And it wasn't getting too much into the Mason stuff because, they got to kind of be tight lipped about that shit. But it was a pretty good interview, and I don't think anything jaw dropping or crazy was talked about. It was two old punk rock dudes drinking and talking shit, right? 2 years, and when I met him, when we did that interview, at the time he was employed as he worked for like a company delivering brake pads to like AutoZone and shit, right? Just some weird job. 2 years later, not only was he a Chicago police officer, which I don't know where the fuck that came from. The dude just must have just become a cop overnight. 2 years later, he was a Chicago police officer that was under investigation because he was part of an FBI sting where they found out he was a Proud Boy.
Oh,
And I was like, what? That fucking guy? And I look back and it was like, seriously, it was like 2 fucking years. It was like nothing. And
shit.
somehow he had not only become a Chicago police officer, but was involved in all these fucking crazy groups. And
I thought I wore a lot of hats.
yeah, I know.
This
This guy
fucking
moved
guy.
quick. You know, either that or like he was on the list to take the cop test and just never said anything. Like I don't know, it was crazy. I mean, he was really built. I'll give him that. I was like, dude, you're in shape, and he's like, yeah, I work out a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, little did I know he was that. But yeah, the dude, I'll even fucking say his name, Rob Baker. You can fucking look it up. And I don't know how he got in that group, but it was so weird because he was not saying anything that was like racially intolerant. He agreed to do this interview with me in the first place.
Yeah.
Like it was so bizarre, and he was a Freemason. And like the thing about Freemasons is like, I don't know if you know this, but there's a lot of black Freemasons out there. Like Freemasons takes all people. Like they are not a racially fucking segregated group whatsoever. So the fact that like this guy was a Freemason, which I thought was when you're that, I think that supersedes whatever affiliations you claim to have. Then found out that he was in connection with a white supremacist group. Like it was the most fucking bizarre shit. And I still don't know what was really going on there. Like I think that there might be more to that story than I'm even cognizant of.
Well, clearly, yeah.
Yeah, that I just once again in true pedo fashion fucking stumbled in the middle of some shit because of some guy that I used to fucking do shots of JMO with back in my 20s. But yeah, these groups are it's crazy. It really is. And I think that's when I think we're deluding ourselves if we don't think these groups are out there. And it's
Oh, yeah.
dangerous.
They
You know.
absolutely are out there, and they're. I feel like now they're kind of, um, oh, I mean, sadly, a little stronger than ever because they can congregate easier now with the internet and things like that. Can you imagine if the Waco wackos could fucking congregate on the internet? How many more people would have been at that compound? I mean, my God. Um, but I agree. Why don't we have more of that now? I don't really. Maybe because we're better at spotting it now. Maybe because we stop it earlier now. It does boil over into that point, and we know that because of like the insurrection that happened. Um, so it does get there. Although I think only one person died during that, which thank God. Um, but I don't know why they don't organize. I have no idea and do more attacks. I hope they don't. I hope they continue to not organize.
Yeah, it just gives a bad name to people that like to play with guns. You know,
Absolutely.
this is such a bummer because like I would not consider myself like unfortunately if I have lots of hobbies, I have lots of interests, and prepping I would say is kind of one of them. Like I'm not a prepper. Like I do not have a fucking like my crawl space is not a fucking bomb shelter by any means. I don't have stored. I have rain barrels on actually, but that's because like my neighbor had them when I or the previous owner had them, and I gave one away and I threw one out and I still have one, but I don't use it or anything, right? And
You
it is
can't. It's
legal to
illegal.
collect. It is
Oh, it's
legal to
legal.
collect rain in Illinois. I looked it up, but that's like I don't know. Like that's not. I think that's good. Like having survival skills and like we could seriously face like a grid collapse. There's so many things that could happen where I think that you would need a little bit more independence than the average person has, right? And I don't think those are bad skills to have or develop. I really don't. I think that like knowing how to hunt, knowing how to be proficient with a firearm, having an emergency shortwave radio, things like that, like batteries, flashlights, water, canned goods, or whatever. Like these are not bad things to kind of keep around if you possess the ability to do it. But these people that like, I don't know, they take it to a whole nother level where like it's not it's like creepy, you know. I'm gonna quit talking shit because these people could probably kill me.
And probably at least half of our listeners are those kind of people.
Well, teach me stuff, guys. I will say, I will say this: like, I was on Twitter and I saw like a Twitter ad for like some prepper newsletter, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" I'm like, "This looks like garbage." If anyone has any good publications that they can recommend, please let me know.
So,
Um,
so you're off the flat Earth thing. Now you're onto the prepper thing. Is
I
that?
mean, I've always been interested in this stuff. Seriously, I
It is
just
interesting, and I agree. It
yeah.
is. You should be able to know how to fend for yourself if you don't have the amenities, right? You should be able to know what to do if you have no electricity. You should be able to know what to do if you have no water or no food source. You should at least have those basic survival skills because Pat's right. Anything could happen.
But do you and then I so then I get like these guys like in their conspiratorial mindset, I get their argument that the government doesn't want you to be like self-reliant. Like the argument that the Ruby Ridge and the Waco people would make is that because they were being harassed. You have a family that's just trying to live their own fucking life out in the woods. And you know I don't think they were any crazier than most people that you come across in society. Writing the president letters and stuff aside, like, shouldn't they have just been able to fucking live out there and be left alone? Why does that alarm us? Like, oh, what are these people doing over here? Why are they living over here? Why aren't they going to our schools or using our electricity or drinking our water? What are they doing out there in the woods? Why do they have guns? Because they're not relying on the police force, right? Because they're not going to call 911 if someone comes to their door, right? Because they are hunters and they do need to get their own food because they're not buying stuff that was factory. They're not eating meat that was factory farmed, right? They're doing their own thing. And Waco's different because they were fucking kids. Like, screw those people.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I think that's the argument that these people make is that I don't know. Just it doesn't end well when you try to separate from society.
I mean, I would have to dig more into the Ruby Ridge situation personally, and look at even the examples that you've listed here today. It's like four examples tops of that ever happening, really. So clearly, it doesn't happen all the time, right? It's not like there is a big conspiracy for the government to take out people who have that way of thinking. Also, it's not that the government they can't stop you from learning those skills, right? They just expect that, you know, you as a human would partake in the game because you like the luxury of a working toilet and running water that you don't have to work for. You could just pay a bill and it's on every month because that's the type of person I am, right? I'd rather not have to collect my own water. I'd rather just turn my fucking faucet on and there it is, and I don't have to worry about nothing else.
Yeah, but I mean,
Um,
it makes it really easy for the tinfoil hats when it's like, okay, so you're saying me it's illegal to drink any water except for those water that you provide to me that's laced with fluoride.
well, so what would you do then? You would move to a place that it's not illegal
Right.
because you can do that.
Right. You have the option to move. Well, that's what they do until they get investigated and drones flown over their fucking compounds. And supposedly the other thing that set off the Ruby Ridge thing, I didn't bring this up because it's kind of a ridiculous anecdote, but fuck it. Geraldo Rivera, do you know who he is?
Yeah.
Okay, so he was like a talk show host back in the day. Supposedly, he was flying his helicopter over the Ruby Ridge compound to try to get footage of them. Not him, and not like Geraldo was in the fucking pilot seat with his aviators on.
He probably was.
Somebody from his program was flying over their compound trying to shoot in and get footage, and somebody from the family shot the helicopter. And then they went back and said that they were being shot at, and that's what prompted the marshals to act. And the marshals knew where they were, but it was like, look, we're not going to raid that compound because it's too dangerous, and we don't need to dust up. Fuck it, it ain't worth it. We know where the guy's at. We'll get him at some point, right? And then Geraldo was doing this thing. His helicopter supposedly gets shot at, but like no one from Geraldo's crew ever actually said after the fact that they were shot at, and there was no bullet holes in the helicopter. So that was what supposedly provoked the marshals to act, was that them shooting at Geraldo's helicopter.
But that's not what happened. What happened was the man had a warrant out for his arrest.
Right. No, he already had a warrant because they thought that someone had accused him of selling sawed-off shotguns. So that's what generated the warrant. However, they didn't serve the warrant. They sat on it because they didn't know the right way to go in there and get him. And then his organization was flying over. They said they were being shot at. That got back to the police. The police said, okay, we're acting on this fucking thing. That's when they go in.
So it's a situation that escalated,
right,
and got out of control, right? So somebody accuses this guy of selling sawed-off shotguns. The government goes, "Holy shit, this guy has weapons that he may or may not be allowed to legally have, and he's illegally selling them." And sawed-off shotguns were illegal, and so
we have a search warrant, but we don't want to execute it because we're too afraid that when we go in there, things are going to go south. Him and his family are armed. We don't want to fucking shoot out.
We don't know what they have. Right.
So they hold off, but then this thing happens with the helicopter.
Right.
And then it's like, fuck it, we're going in.
Holy shit, they're shooting at Geraldo. We can't have that. Then they go in. They get there. They happen to have a dog. The dog is probably acting aggressively. They shoot the dog. First of all, first rule, you don't kill the dog, ever.
Right. Well, that's the same thing that happened at Waco. They shot their dogs first.
Right.
And then they wondered why they returned fire. It's like, you fucking shot the dog.
You fucking shot my dog. What do you think? I'm gonna shoot you. And that's what happened in the Ruby Ridge. They shot the dog, and then they go, oh, okay. Well, we're gonna shoot at them now. Which that's never, ever, ever, ever. Listen, if you were ever being shot at by the fucking police, don't shoot at them. Like, don't do that. Just die.
It's very just die
with dignity. I mean, let them shoot your ass.
Honestly,
after you start firing shots, you're fucked. Maybe they'll hit you in the leg or some shit, and then you get a settlement for life. But once you start shooting at them, you're fucked. Don't shoot at the police.
That's honestly, that's all my dogs are fucking meat shields. They'll take the first two shots. They'll give me time to shoot once, miss, and then fucking
they're gonna come and shoot your dogs. You know. But I mean, so this was just, again, this is a situation. It's not fair to say, well, the reason why this happened and they went shooting this family up for no good reason at all is just because they were living off the grid. No, that's not why. That's not what happened.
Yeah, that's a very
details
simplistic.
Matter,
yeah, no, they do.
So again, I mean, if it's a matter, yes, people should be allowed to go live off the grid. I agree with that. But these aren't good examples for the government trying to stop people from doing that.
Well, I'm not trying to prolong this conversation because we're already at the 2-hour mark. But I think when you talk about people that do live off the grid, that do it successfully, where my wife's from in rural Indiana, her neighbors, where she was growing up, there were a lot of Amish. When her dad died and we went to the services and stuff, the Amish showed up in droves. Like, the Amish are an active part of their community. When you go to the Meijer out by her, there's an area in the back parking lot where you can like rope up your horse and shit. And those people do not get sieged by the government at all. And they molest the shit out of their kids.
They do. The Amish are terrible people.
Here's what they don't do. They don't stockpile guns.
They don't.
No. So this is what we learned here today. The Venn diagram of what will get you raided by the fucking ATF and shit. Believe it or not, firearms. That will get you sieged. Being a separatist, not using water, not using electricity, they'll leave you alone. Sexually abusing children, they'll probably forgive that too. But if you got shotguns with a short barrel, you better believe they're going to kill your dogs and fucking steamroll your front yard and set you on fire with tear gas bombs.
Also, don't fuck with Geraldo, obviously. Clearly, that's a problem. But yeah, no, I mean, exactly. But you're right. The Amish are a great example of that. They live off the grid. They don't get fucked with. We don't care.
Right. I don't want to make. I don't know how much their problems are.
They're pretty terrible.
But that's what I thought. What I thought. But I don't.
Puppy mills are almost exclusively ran by the Amish.
Really?
Oh yeah, they're fucking terrible people. Yeah.
That's kind of the gist that I get, but I don't. Once again, I'm secondhand info, and I haven't researched any of it. So
yeah,
I'll let you make the baseless claims.
Ask Cassie, friend of the show. Cassie, she knows.
Is she a Mennonite?
Yes, Cassie's a Mennonite.
Whoa.
She's not, but she lives in a very Amish community. And just
Okay.
ask her about it. She'll probably,
I'm sure
after,
she'll message us. Yeah.
yeah, she'll message you about it. She'll tell you all about it. But she knows quite a bit. But I mean, yeah, I know about the puppy mills. They run those, and you're right. They probably do diddle their kids because they're gross people. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised. Whatever. Anyway, so I mean, that's what we do here. That's why we cover these topics. Sometimes, you guys, it's just out of selfish curiosity. Waco is one of those things that, hey, didn't really me. I would have never checked this out otherwise. I would have just continued to let it fly under my radar. And Pato probably would have checked it out otherwise because this is his jam, I guess.
This is what I do at night.
This is his thing. It's what he does when he's shitting or whatever. Google's Waco. I did want to give an update though during the it's not a happy update. Maybe I shouldn't give it. I'm going to give it. During the recording of this episode, it was confirmed that body that was found in the river was the little boy. So
Bummer.
hug your kids extra tight. Just knowing that they're safe and not being burned alive at a compound in Texas or whatever the case is. That's my takeaway here. So if you guys are curious how that story ended, well, it didn't end very good. So,
And if you thought that this episode went well, I don't usually beg for applause or anything on Twitter, but give me a thumbs up because I spent a lot of time working on this. So
Pato's baby.
Yeah, and you know what? I the next one I would like to do a deep dive on the actual history of the Necronomicon because I think that would be interesting.
We'll see if there's something there.
Yeah.
I would like to do more like paranormal ghost things. We have a topic coming up soon that's paranormal. But they're just kind of hard to do, paranormal is hard to cover. So if there's a topic of paranormal studies or anything in particular you guys want to hear about, just let us know. Listen, I'm never going to run out of ideas for the show, but you're always more than welcome to share what you guys would like to hear, and we will cover it eventually. It will happen. But yeah, give me your paranormal stuff because we got to throw that in here too. I think the last thing we did that was like paranormal at all was probably possessions.
The Warrens?
Maybe the Warrens, yeah. Maybe the Warrens, and that wasn't very good because they're liars, so I don't know. But yeah, anyway. All right, I guess let's end it, right? We'll see you guys back here, well, hopefully next Wednesday.